Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to be talking about the Venezuelan election that was possibly stolen, the Israeli-Iranian conflict that is very close to bringing us to World War III, and Kamala Harris has chosen a running mate. And it was someone that I didn't expect, and I think many of us were surprised to hear this, Democrats alike. She didn't choose Bashir. She didn't choose Shapiro. No Michelle Obama. She goes with Tim Walz, the former governor of Minnesota. Very strange and creepy looking dude.
It's the Kacee Allen Show.
We've pretty much been covering the Donald Trump assassination attempt over the past couple episodes, so we're going to get you guys informed on what's going on all around the world, because the news has been absolutely unraveling, and we're very close to World War III. It starts with the Venezuelan election. The Venezuelan incumbent, Nicolas Maduro, was running for his third term, and what it appears is that he lost this election. Many people are saying that this was stolen and potentially fraudulent. Like Elon Musk himself actually said that this was not a fair election and Maduro was able to manipulate this to his advantage. Musk actually took Maduro's check mark off of X. So basically, if you're a politician, you get a gray check mark. He no longer has that. He just has a blue one now. But it all starts with the millions of Venezuelans who exercise their right, just like anybody, eager to vote in a democratic election. As soon as the results started to trickle in, concerns started to amount. We saw on X, many people that were there were protesting, were immediately unaccepting of what happened with this election. You saw journalist Jackson Hinkle. He was actually there saying that he contradicted what Elon Musk said. Hinkle, who is the head of the American Communist Party, claims that Maduro won this election free and fair, and they're actually doing much better than we see on screen. So whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. I'd have to visit myself to see that, but it's something to definitely bring up. So in response, Maduro declared himself the winner, citing results announced by the National Electoral Council. This showed him securing the 51.2% of the vote compared to Gonzalez's 44.2%. So the opposition immediately called these results into question, accusing C&E of manipulating the data and failing to release detailed precinct-level results. The international community also weighed in the matter. The United States, through Secretary Blinken, expressed concerns about the election. He claimed that it was actually stolen. And other countries, including Latin America, there's a lot of countries down south that have also expressed their concerns, claiming that this was a fraudulent election. So this is my immediate response to this. The fact that Secretary Blinken will make an adamant response immediately in favor of the democratically elected Venezuelan government, that their election was stolen. But when it comes to 2020, he doesn't look into that at all. He basically claims that, we're just going to look into other countries' elections, and that's more important than, the one that was stolen in our country in 2020. So he has a very strange motive in the way he's doing things. I really don't agree with it. And the fact that we're going to prioritize other nations' election process over ours is beyond me. I mean, it pretty much speaks to the foreign aid we give to countries every single day. Billions of taxpayer dollars going to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, places that we all know the average American could not find on a map. I don't know with this. I mean, me personally, I would have to actually go to Venezuela to see how this plays out, because I've heard both sides of this. I've heard people say that Venezuela is a bad place to live. They do not have a fair election process. With voting machines, they have somehow manipulated this. That's what I've heard on one side. But on the other side, I hear that, maybe that Venezuela is not as bad as we think it is. Maybe that, we see that their democratically elected process isn't corrupt. We see people like Jackson Hinkle who are on that side. defending Maduro, who he actually interviewed him. We'll show a few clips of that.
So my question is, what do you think is in the interest of people like Elon Musk, who are continuing to sell these insane lies about you, your country, and your people?
Elon Musk forma parte de la nueva generación de multimillonarios vinculados a la alta tecnología. Ellos hoy por hoy, él, Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos y otros más, ellos son un producto del Pentágono.
It's just really weird because, I mean, not that this affects America a ton. I mean, yeah, we have Venezuela for some imports and exports, and they're deemed an ally. But I think what we can really take out of this is that if this happens to us again in America during 2024 in this election, we're going to see consequences much worse than this. We're going to see much worse than riots. We're going to see much worse than people just getting pissed on Twitter. We're going to see a major backlash if Trump doesn't win, to be honest, and whether it's fair or not. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I think that Maduro himself, I think he doesn't seem like a terrible dude. I've seen him in interviews. I've seen him talk. I really think he's a guy that's trying to do the best for his nation. Although when it comes down to the voting process and whether this was manipulated or not, I'm not sure. I really couldn't tell you, and I don't want to give any false information because I wasn't there and I didn't actually, I didn't see anything happen. So I personally have only been going off of the best resources I have and can come to the conclusions to what I think. I think this was most likely a fraudulent election to at least a point. What I saw is 109% out of all the candidates that ran. I think it was like 6 candidates between all of them that ran. But they tallied 109% in the votes. How does that make any sense? So 9% at least was either fraudulent, incorrectly counted, or just simply added to somebody else. So that's a serious problem. And, if that's the actual case, then yeah, 9%, that could possibly decide the election. According to the one poll, it said it was 51 to 44. That ultimately 9-point swing, yeah, that would be the deciding electorate at that point. So, yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting topic. I mean, everyone's been talking about this. This has been getting tons of views on Twitter. It's one of the most trending topics as we speak. If Elon Musk is contingent about this and pushes back, who knows? Maybe this actually affects their process and maybe Maduro gets taken out. Maybe he stays in. I mean, if you guys saw, Elon Musk actually posted that he will fight Maduro on X, and Maduro said that he will take the challenge, but Elon says he's going to check it out.
Elon Musk, quien se mete conmigo se seca, quien se mete con Venezuela se seca. Elon Musk, ¿quieres pelea? Vamos a darle, Elon Musk. Estoy listo. Soy hijo de Bolívar y de Chávez. No te tengo miedo, Elon Musk. Vamos a darnos, pues, donde quiera. Como decimos en Caracas, en los barrios. Si tú quieres, yo quiero, Elon Musk. Di dónde.
That will be interesting if that actually happens, although I would be surprised if it does. The next thing I want to talk about is the Israel-Iranian crisis. We've been talking about this for a while. We've been saying we're on the verge of World War III with Iran and Israel, but it really hasn't happened just yet. Although I think the recent conflicts with the bombing of Beirut puts us on that track to where it's probably really close. We funded billions and billions of dollars to Israel to fund and basically control what they're doing in the Gaza Strip in response to October 7th. And Netanyahu's recent address to Congress was really applauded by everybody, Republicans and Democrats alike. He was very, very much liked in there. It was almost like he was praised, which surprised many people. I knew that the Israel lobby was extremely influential on our politicians, but I didn't know it was every single one. I saw Anna Paulina Luna, Matt Gaetz, every single person attended that address besides Thomas Massie. He said, I'm not going to be a puppet in this theatrical war, because that's exactly what it is. It's something that has been incorporated due to the IMEC corridors competition with China and Russia creating this BRICS currency competing with the dollar. That's what it all comes to. The Israel lobby does have a lot of control over U.S. politicians, which, again, goes back to why we're at war with Iran and potentially could be really detrimental in the future. If Israel is smart about this, they would figure this out, rescue the hostages in the most peaceful way possible, but I don't see that happening. I mean, it's just bombing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Nobody has any sentiment, and everyone seems to be nothing but dictatorial and set on taking out innocent lives, and just basically a violent coup until the winning side just kills the enemy. That's the way I see it. I don't see any remorse towards any side. I see the Israeli defense forces being more aggressive due to what they've endured and due to what their motives are. I see the Iranian forces just defending themselves and being forced to respond to this. Not that I'm in allegiance to either of them, but you have to understand how both sides are being motivated to go to war. They are really at the hand of the military-industrial complex and those who seek to gain off of this, which are many companies and many organizations. For the United States, the best thing we can do here is ask for peace, call for a ceasefire, and not send any more money over there. We need to cut them off completely and say, you guys need to figure this out with a peaceful solution, not with the funding of military equipment, which we do give them a 25% discount on, and billions of dollars included. That needs to be taken away immediately. They need to fend for themselves and understand, look, you've taken way too many innocent lives here for a simple attack, which we don't know anything about on October 7th. We've just been completely in the dark. All we know is that a bunch of dudes gyroed into Israel or the Gaza Strip on these parachutes, and then, I mean, it was like they were in Fortnite. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy how they didn't notice that. And Netanyahu was on previous crimes beforehand, which hasn't been addressed. So, these are all things we need to understand and put America first. We understand we have the homelessness crisis, 40,000 plus on the streets. Most are veterans. We've got, the economy out of control. Mortgage rates, interest rates are unaffordable for anyone, Gen Z and millennials, to buy homes. We've got the fentanyl crisis, the border with 20 plus million over the past 4 years coming into the Biden administration, and we have no solution. We just have all these people that are here. We don't know where they're at. I mean, these are the things that we should be putting first. The fact that we're clapping for foreign leaders at congressional hearings is a mockery of the United States. I don't care who it's for. I don't care if it's Israel. I don't care if it's Iran. I don't care if it's Iraq. I don't care if it's Russia. We have to put America first. And if we're applauding foreign leaders and sending them billions of our taxpayer dollars, then we're betraying our country. Maybe during a time where we have peace and prosperity and we're doing much better as a nation, we could consider funding foreign operations and helping foreign allies. But we are not at that point. We cannot chew gum and walk at the same time. We can't even do one. We can't even take care of our very people in America. We are failing them every single day with the Biden-Harris administration, with the open border, the fentanyl crisis, the economy. Everything is skyrocketing out of control, and nothing is going to save this country if we don't put America first and stop the funding of these foreign adversaries and foreign allies, whatever you want to call them. We have to put America first. I also want to cover the new news from yesterday that Kamala Harris has decided to appoint Tim Walz, the former governor of Minnesota, as her running mate. The really creepy looking dude who looks like he would probably not be able to be within 100 feet of a school zone. Yeah. Here's a video of this guy and Kamala yesterday. He was behind her and it looked like he was sniffing her hair. I don't know what the Democrats are thinking. They are a sinking ship.
Good evening, city.
It's pretty astonishing because Tim Walz, during the Black Lives Matter riots in 2020, let this happen, did not take responsibility, and still stood for the propagandized mainstream media lies that they tried to purport to make us think America was systemically racist, which we're obviously not. This is the guy the Democrats appoint as their vice president. I mean, I really think they had to do this because nobody else was willing to take the job. This is a sinking ship in a failed administration that's an overreach of the Biden administration, which was the worst administration, is currently the worst administration in history. So, yeah, of course Gavin Newsom didn't want to run. Of course Michelle Obama had no interest. Of course, people with high stature had no interest of helping or being involved in this election because it's a landslide, especially after July 13th and the assassination attempt, which Donald Trump proved that he is the most resilient and strongest candidate in this race. Who wants to go up against that? Who wants to challenge that? Here's a video of Tim Walz's wife saying the Black Lives Matter riots were nothing that they should be accountable for. It's ridiculous how she has this mindset.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
So at this point, it's August. We're a few months away from the election, and here's where I stand. I do think with Kamala replacing Joe Biden, there is still a 20 to 30% that will, no matter what, vote for Kamala Harris. Although I do not think that will be anywhere near enough to amount to what Donald Trump has and has had since 2016. I really don't see any possible way, after replacing Biden, that they can just throw Kamala Harris in last minute, throw in some cheesy vice president who's obscure to pretty much everyone in the United States, and expect to win. That's very unlikely, and the odds are against him. Go look at the Vegas VP odds. It's like 60% to 30%. I mean, Trump is totally destroying these odds here, and it's very likely if RFK gets on the ballot, the Democratic Party is going to have the lowest turnout in history. That's the thing. I think if RFK is not able to get on the ballot, you will still see that 30 to maybe 40% vote for Kamala Harris because they're that brainwashed and demented and just hate Trump. And that's not going to change. There's nothing you could possibly show them that will. I mean, it's proven that that's the case because the corrupt DOJ, the lies, COVID, all these things, they have not been accountable for. And no one has been able to say on the left, like, oh, wow, these people are wrong. Like, the hardcore leftists, the hardcore progressives will not change their mind. Yeah, you've had people who have met middle ground, like Michael Rappaport and Bill Maher. Like, there's people that are starting to wake up, but you're never going to change the trans community. You're never going to change the 7X vaxxed. That's never going to happen. So, yeah, I think that is 30 to 40% right now. And I proposed in a previous episode with Raleigh Martin that, yeah, getting RFK on the ballot would probably be a benefit to Trump because you're going to take those votes away from the moderate Democrats, add them to RFK, and Kamala's left to maybe with like 20 to 30% max. And RFK is simply just stealing maybe 15% of the vote, probably 10, most of which comes from Kamala, a little bit from Trump, not much, not anywhere near substantial. I really think after July 13th and everything we've seen so far, what's to hate about the guy? If your only thing is mean tweets and the fact that he may have offended you in the past, then that's a baseless claim. There's no argument for that. This is all about policy, not about rhetoric. We used to be in a time where we could say, I want to choose the president who has the best rhetoric. I want the best speaking and the most professional president. Well, we're at a time where we can't. That's off the table. This is all about policy. How are we going to fix America? How are we going to make sure that things are affordable? How are we going to fix foreign wars? How are we going to fix the affordability crisis so Gen Z can actually buy a home These are the things that we need to worry about, not whether, the president says something that offends me. Who cares? This is all about fixing America. Everything post July 13th, Trump has been 100% making sure he's not dividing the country. He's aligned with bringing everybody together. And all of his speeches have not been offensive or mean. It's been very professional. And you even talk to Democrats and moderates. They are like, yeah, this guy is much better suited and much more humble and realistic to American people ever since that shooting. And that's what we need as America. Maybe that is what actually set us right. That godforsaken act that, again, thank goodness he's still alive, because we would probably be in a civil war right now if he hadn't turned a millimeter to the right. The biggest flaw and possibility of Trump losing this election is the fact that only 17 out of 50 U.S. states require a voter ID to vote. So with the influx of 22 million illegals over the past 4 years, let's just say all of them go to a state in which they can vote, which would be very likely and possible with the Democrat funding. That would, without a doubt, decide the election in the Democrats' favor. If that's what they've been secretly doing, if that's what their whole plan with this whole border crisis is, which it probably was, that's how they're going to win the election if they do. They're going to have, let's just say out of the 22 million, they're able to get 10 million or 8 million to vote. That is all it takes to decide the outcome. That's all it took in 2020, 81 to 74, whatever it was. It was that close, and that's all it simply takes. So that's my biggest fear for this upcoming election. And I think if we see that that's the case, and even the Electoral College sees it this way, I think we have to understand, America, that our country has been overthrown and we've lost everything, because we cannot go 4 years of Kamala Harris. We cannot go 4 years of any progressive liberal. They have destroyed our country ever since Obama and before. And put the Democratic Party aside, we've got a terrible fiscal policy between the Republicans and the Democrats. We spend so much money and have no solution for our national debt. I want to end on this. This would really fit the theme of where we're at as a country right now. Trump released an advertisement yesterday with Ronald Reagan giving a speech about how when he ran for president, that the last 4 years were terrible. And Trump's in that same situation now. But it's a really America, just prideful video that really makes you feel like we're in that old America again. Here it is.
President Ronald Reagan, who has a few questions for you.
All of you will go to the polls, will stand there in the polling place and make a decision. I think when you make that decision, it might be well if you would ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go and buy things in the stores than it was 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the country than there was 4 years ago? Is America as respected throughout the world as it was? Do you feel that our security is as safe, that we're as strong as we were 4 years ago? If you don't think that this course that we've been on for the last 4 years is what you would like to see us follow for the next 4, then I could suggest another choice that you have.
President Trump. He'll make America great again.